performed the census data analysis and they provided the updated legal descriptions and maps. The proposed changes bring all 5 director districts to within less than 0.15% difference in population size. And this is actually quite remarkable. So when you have all the population size and trying to balance between 5 districts, it's pretty amazing to get within that percentage. The next slide actually shows the map. So the changes are minimal, and on the map you can actually see the different colors. So District 1 is on the right-hand side, aligned with Dyes Inlet. There were just a couple of small changes on the District 1. District 3 includes a little bit of the tan off to the east side. So there was a change there. The purple, you can see the outline on the purple, that was changed a little bit there, and a tiny little piece up on the north end of Dyes Inlet in District 1 was changed. And then on the purple, there's just a little added square above District 2 and District 4. To be clear, these changes don't affect school attendance boundaries at all. These are school board director boundaries and who they represent. So the current changes do not affect our current sitting board members of directors either. So the addresses of our current directors, this does not change any of them as well. So next slide. So this actually shows where the ideal population of our school district and how we divide into different districts for representation would be 14,770 for each district representation. The current population, you can see for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th districts vary. The proposed population within each district, with the changes and the modifications, which were fairly minimal, you can see changes get close enough to, again, be 0.15%, the deviation from the ideal representation. So we're very, very close. And then as you look across on this representation, you can see the population, the white population, our Hispanic origin population, and the non-white and mixed population within each of the districts. So with the actual report back, we got very, very close with the 10-year change in our district. So if you go to the next slide, this shows what the requirements are. Tonight, we will be having the first reading of these revisions, and it is included in policy 1105, the director district boundaries. We will hold tonight the public hearing on these proposed director boundary reviews. Again, this is not school boundaries. And then we will have a second reading and the adoption of these revisions October 26th. And then by November 15th, after the adoption, that's the state deadline for adoption of the new director districts. And we'll have our 10-year policy change and shift completed. But then pretty, very tiny deviation. So are there questions about the process or where we landed with the recommendation?
I think I'd asked Athena, the gentleman that did, I can't remember his name, but came back with definitely great answers for my questions. So it was good. It's a lot of work. So, any other questions? Anything for the board?
The other piece of this before we open up for the hearing for our community, the updates were needed to align in policy 1105 with the U.S. Census Bureau. Some Amish data systems performed the census data analysis and they provided the legal descriptions of the maps, which we just reviewed. To that end, we have revised policy 1105 to include the new legal descriptions known as meets and bounds. And revising this policy will align with state law requirements included with RCW 29A.76.010, This reviews and balances the boundaries of the board of director districts every 10 years after each federal census. So any questions about the changes to policy 1105 to align with the new census in boundaries?
All right, so then next, you have the review of the updates to policy 1105, director's district boundaries. Afterward, we will move into the public hearing. The superintendent.
We're gonna do the public hearing now, and then we're gonna ask for the board to approve the first reading. So go ahead and open.
Oh, you wanna do it?
Yeah. go
All right.
ahead.
Next,
So are we not going to review those particular updates?
We are,
That was kind of what Erin just
I
went
just
over,
did
was
in
that she
your
said it's the
policy,
meets and bounds.
1105.
So do you have a question about the meets and bounds?
yeah, that's
That's
the only thing
change.
is
What
we're just updating it with the law.
what we wanted to do for the community is to go ahead and review the actually summary of the changes, review the policy 1105 first reading, open up the board hearing so we can hear comments from our community, and then have the board go ahead and approve the first reading. Okay?
All right. All right, next up is a public hearing on the proposed director district boundaries. The public hearing on the proposed director district boundaries is now open. We would like to share that this is not a question and answer period, rather it is an opportunity for the public to comment on the proposed district director boundaries. With that, is there anyone who would like to comment on the proposed director district boundaries? All right. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the proposed director district boundaries?
We have a,
Can you just show the map of the boundary? I'm loud. Can you show the map of the boundary again? Because it was really hard to see where 4 changed, and it looks like 4 changed.
yeah,
So,
yep, we'll go ahead and pop that up. And let me help get mine here.
And do we have any online?
We have one comment online, but I believe it's for later. And the map is on.
Okay, so District 4 right here. So this was formerly, this little black square right here was formerly District 2. This has now become District 4. So this section here, formerly District 2, has changed to District 4.
you have the address of the street name?
We can get that for you. We don't have, I mean, we
Because
have that,
that's
but
what parents are gonna wanna know.
yeah, yep. So we'll have those. I think, are they in the board packet?
That's why I asked, that's what I asked about reviewing, putting it up on the screen.
All the
We have
addresses?
The address, the streets,
The meets and bounds
the
language
meets and
has all
bounds
the
language has
streets.
all the.
Has all the streets,
Under
and
each
that's
of
in
them.
the,
That's
that's in
why
the
It's in the
policy
book, it's in the
1105.
board packets,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's in the board packet.
You'll
So-
see both track changes and plain
So all
copies.
the,
those
so
are
in the board,
Mhm.
Yes.
in the board book, it should have all of the different streets for each of those
Well, I
changes.
asked because for District 4, we had people who submitted their names for that position, and then they found out they were across the street. So it's kind of important for voters and families to know.
Yeah, so in the policy 1105, it'll actually
It's in there,
splits
it was
all
up
of that
yesterday
out.
for review.
And then, just to help clarify, so this black square right in here, formerly District 1 is now District 4. So District 1, this was District 1, now it's part of District 4. So this was added, and this was added to 4. District 3, this little squiggly part right here, was formerly District 1, now it's District 3 added in. And this tiny little spot right here was formerly District 3 over here, and now it's been added to 1. As had, this one was formerly 2, now it's been added to District 1. So they're just little areas, but it helps balance the whole area out.
Just so you know that why it's important to point that out, that little area that moved from District 3 into District 1 that she just pointed out was basically was where Director Stokey from long ago lived. So he lived in that little, if he were currently on the board, okay, he would no longer be living in District 3, he would be living in District 1. And then, which would affect elections and the like, so.
Thank you, Director.
I do have a question. So I pulled up the board notes, the board docs, last night, and I was looking at them, the actual, needs and bounds, the descriptions.
Mhm.
But in one of them, I wasn't sure, cause not all of them included the same thing, so I don't know if, part of, I can't remember which district it was missing on one of them, but I don't know if that was the one that you guys are actually filing, or if that was a correction, because like, it was confusing, let me put it to you this way, the way it was on the Word docs and how you guys had it in there, it was confusing as to which one you were actually going to be approving.
The track changes.
Yes, because it showed up in one, and then it showed changes later on, and then it showed up again, but part of, some of the needs and bounds were missing in part of it, so I don't know, I didn't bring it with me.
So,
We have it.
Is it-
Director Tracy will explain.
so the track changes, that the part that's crossed out shows that it's crossing out the old policy. So it's crossing out the old meets and bounds for the current director district areas.
Yeah, I got that part. It
And then
was-
in red is the new, and then when you look at the clean one, it's all in black font color, and it just includes the new. And the one I'm looking at right now has all 5 director districts.
Right, but look at, it was District 1 or District 2, I think it's missing part of the description in it, is what I'm trying to say, from what was cut out and what was put back in. So, and like I said, because it looked like there were 3 different maps that were included in that document there, or the 3 different.
Oh, I see what you're saying. On the track changes, you're right. When it goes to the next page, it's in black font, so it looks like it's not a change. And so that would, I see how that's confusing. So when you look at the clean one, it has all the words.
We'll go back and double check, and maybe I can follow
Yeah,
up. At the end of the meeting, if you're still here, let's follow up, or tomorrow, let's follow up, and you can point out specifically, and we'll double check it.
Yeah, cause I think there were like 3 different ones in there, I just wasn't sure exactly, there was 2 that were in the black, but then there was the one with the red.
So can we do this for the
But
public?
anyways,
Can we-
so I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you.
No, I'm saying for the, so this is what's being approved on this side.
We're
We can
approving
approve the first
First
reading.
reading.
Just the
but
first
Because
reading.
it's only a first reading.
First reading gives us time, yeah,
They
those-
can discuss it if there's any changes. between
yeah, we're
that
not
and the second
adopting
reading.
tonight, so that's what's nice about the first reading, so we'll go back and double check and make sure everything's clean, and if it's not, then the second reading will make sure that that's changed.
Okay, I mean, I can show you afterwards.
Perfect, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, perfect, so that's the second.
No, we got 2 months.
Got one more?
For it. All right, is there anyone else who would like to comment on the proposed director district boundaries? All right, I'll do it one more time. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the proposed director boundaries?
We're gonna just check virtual.
Yeah, virtual please, if you can. Okay, good. All right. Thank you for your comments that you did give. We would like to thank everybody at this time to share your comments with the board this evening. If all individuals have been heard, this will conclude the public hearing. There is no additional comments, therefore the public hearing is now closed. So first reading of revised to policy 1105, director district boundaries. We are being asked to approve the first reading of revised to policy 1105, director district boundaries. Do we have a motion to approve the first reading of revised to policy 1105?
Move approval of the first reading of revisions to policy 1105,
Second? Oh, sorry.
director district boundaries as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. With none opposed. Let me make sure. Yep, with none opposed, the first reading revised to policy 1105, director of district boundaries, is approved as presented. All right, now we move to consent agenda. We are now moved to consent agenda. Do we have any corrections or changes to consent agenda? Do we have any motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval of consent agenda items as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. With unanimous, the consent agenda will stand as presented. It is weird. It is. All right. Good student rep. Now we would like to introduce our new student rep for the 2020-2023 school year, Miss Lorraine Villanova, right? Villanova, who goes by Cassie. I want to make sure I said it right? Who go by Cassie, who will give the student representative to the board report. This is her first one. Thank you for
Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Cassie. I go to Central Kitsap High School. I serve as the ASB president there. Recently, we obviously had our first day of school. I think across the district it went pretty well. We have no COVID restrictions, so a lot of us had a back to school assembly. It was actually really interesting because our senior class was the last class to have a full school assembly, so a lot of the underclassmen wasn't used to it, so it was really cool to see everyone come back together. Homecoming is coming up for high schoolers, so Olympic and CK's homecoming is on the same night, October 22nd, and Clahalia is October 15th.
14th is the game, 15th is the dance. I just know because I have a senior daughter.
Nice. So yeah, it's really excited. We're really excited moving forward to the school year, just because we're able to kind of uphold all the traditions that we've been able to do in the past, and also start new traditions accommodating to our new student body. We're all really excited to bring back a lot of our assemblies and spirit weeks and dances that are at full capacity with less restrictions. I think it'll really foster school spirit and boost the morale. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Any questions, comments for our new student rep?
Just welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah. And I just, you know, and I'm not going to say on behalf of the board, but I definitely interviewing you was excellent. I think that you're going to bring and represent the students very well, and some of the ideas that you have as far as growing the voice of students. So I thank you, appreciate you being on this board. All right. Okay. Miss CKESP report, Ms. Parr. Good to see you.
Thank you for inviting me here today to give you a brief update on the classified staff of Central Kitsap School District. Wow, September has been flying by. It feels like just yesterday we were opening our doors to students. But here we are 16 days into the school year, and as a newer president, I'm assuming this feels a little bit more like a typical school year than the last few. For this, I need to thank our HR department for continually hiring to fill our positions and for completing the hiring process as quickly as possible. The turnaround time from interviews to the first day of work can average about 1 week, depending on paperwork. One thing that HR approached with me right away was the option to increase our sub rate for our para 2 and cap roles from the sub rate to a step 0, which is an increase of over $2 an hour, to $23.79 for para 2s and $24.68 for cap paras. We are hoping this will help boost our sub pool for these critical roles. Another area we are monitoring is our child nutrition and custodial sub pools. We have hired out of our sub pool so many of our current staff, and we need to refill them. My plan right now is to get into every building and visit with staff. This was hard last year due to COVID, stress levels, and sub shortages. I want to be able to be available for everyone, to get the chance to sit down with me and make sure they are doing well. And if not, then to work on making it so. This fall is about making connections again. I'll be sharing with Dr. Prince, as I have in the past, whenever I hear of a site that is feeling disconnected, so we can make sure to change that. September 1st, I welcomed a new executive board to CKESP, whose new members include Ryan Watland, our electrician from maintenance, Cayenne Quinn, a para at Barker Creek, and Jenna Lynn Patukin, our head custodian at Fairview. Our members of the exec board that are continuing from last year are Andrea Katavas, the Olympic High student support monitor, Jacob Robinson, a cap para at Clear Creek, Joy Rosenblum, our new security officer at Barker Creek, Julie Miller-Nye, a para at Woodlands, and Candy Walters, the CTE program secretary at TLC. Thank you to those who have volunteered their time to support their union. And thank you for your time this evening and for this opportunity to share a little bit about our classified staff.
Thank you. Ms. Paul. Next up is CKEA report, Ms. Nicholson.
Good evening. As Kristen said, we're in day 16 of our school year. I'd like to acknowledge all the hard work that everyone does in throughout the summer and August in order to get our school year off to a good start. A great big thank you to everyone. And I would echo what Kristen just said, as this feels the start of this school year. I don't want to use the word normal, but it feels very, very different than the start of the last 2 years, and staff are very appreciative of the fact that it's different in a better way. Want to acknowledge that September is our Latinx Hispanic Heritage Month, where the history and heritage of our Latinx Hispanic staff, students, and community are honored. WA Olympic, our union at the regional level, has a professional learning opportunity for our certificated staff in years 1 through 5 of their career. It's called Survive and Thrive. One of the goals of this program is to provide an opportunity for our new to profession members to network with others from districts in our region that are in the same boat of being in that year 1 through 5, and be able to get tips for how to survive and thrive as they embark on a career in education. We had several of our members attend, and we had Sonnet Sweekett from CK Middle School and David Tracewell from CK High School, who were a part of a panel that sort of gave advice to our new to profession folks, and also answered questions from people in the crowd that said, hey, I've got this question, what advice can you give on that? Our district has sent out some safety communications recently, and staff are very appreciative of that transparency. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholson. All right. Next, we have a presentation on student learning, where we will be updating on a summer 2022 program. Ms. Sabaka and Ms. Barry,
Thank you.
which my son participated in.
So we're here tonight and very excited as they get that started to give an update to the summer programs. There were several, but the 4 that we want to highlight are the Reimagine Summer Camp, which I know Denise and Drayton are familiar with. The Go Forth Reading Program, designed for our 3rd graders going into 4th grade. Online Summer Academy, which is for 6th and 7th graders can take a PE course. And then students in 8th through 12th grade can take an online course for initial credit or and credit recovery. And then we also we continued our Completion Academy work. As soon as we get that going, we can just keep talking. All the pretty pictures. Sorry. You can advance to slide 3, please. All right, so starting with camp, because everyone has fun with camp. The staff had fun, the students had fun, the parents had fun. We came up with the Reimagine Summer Camp in the summer of 2021 to really help students feel positive and excited to re-engage with school after the discombobulation that COVID caused. Total cost of the program was about $93,000. So the camp went from July 11th to August 4th. Students went to school Monday through Thursday. Camp started from 9 to noon, and these were academic but also fun learning camps. We had drama. We had some intervention classes for math and English. We partnered with our Native American camp, cultural camp, Voices of the Sound, very popular. We had camp was free to all students. We used our ESSER funds, as ESSER funds were to engage students, and lunch was served on site. So everyone there received free lunch. You can now look at the enrollment by the week. Week 2 was very popular with families. That was the week after the 4th of July. Or no, the next week after that. And so you can look at the numbers there. The second program that we offered was Imagine Learning, and Sonia Berry is going to talk about that.
Right. We start recruiting third graders in March through elementary conferences for any third grader whose data shows we are not on track for the SBA. So we invite parents, we ask for technology support, and we also open it up to other K-5 students, particularly like siblings or other students who have literacy needs and are language learners. And the cost for this, we roll it over through our summer, and we also have a district para-educator who oversees the program, so she can give booster bits to students. She was hired from Esquire this year, and we'll notice a spike in usage at Esquire because studies show that students perform better when they know a trusted adult. Anyone who completed the program, I don't even keep showing the data. We had over 300 students participate with an average of 46 weekly minutes, and the overall lesson completion rate, pass rate was 81%, which was great. And then we could see that there were spikes of growth, and this was available through the end of July because then we turn it off so we can start rostering classes for the new year. And then those are the number of students and the lesson pass rates. And Pearson Connects Us, we've had this program for quite a while. It is through our online summer academy. It is both credit recovery and accrual. However, the majority of our students who need accrual have been moved to Completion Academy because they've been receiving incomplete the last few years, and the cost for this is $135,000. We had 786 students. We had 935 courses taken, and so our students earned an average of 358 total credits, which was exciting. And then this was by enrollment, and it's pretty proportionate to our school enrollment. And then you can see that PE and health are popular courses to take during the summer. This will free up a student's schedule, not only to take electives. I know my daughter, she took it so she could take 2 math classes. So it allows people to, seek further, take the limitations of a 6-period day so that they can take other classes as well. And Completion Academy, like we said, it was started last summer due to the number of incompletes, and students, as per their incomplete contract, only have to make up certain standards, and so this is run through Pearson Connects Us, which is different than Online Summer Academy where they have to take the full course. They only take partial sections of the course so that they could then have their incomplete transferred to a C.
So are those partial credits or those standards, are they different for each student based on what the requirement is, or is it just?
Yes, there's a lot of individualized attention with our Completion Academy. The teachers go through the incomplete contracts. They set up a specialized course just to hit the standards that a student needs.
Just to build on that, if a student had a lot to make up because of the amount of work they did the first time, they can have a choice of either taking the full course again and earning the new grade, or working on the incomplete and changing the incomplete and finishing those standards to a C.
This must be the last year that Completion Academy is run.
I think we'll have one more year.
Yeah. Well,
Is there one more slide?
any questions from the board?
Is there one more slide?
There's one more
Oh, sorry.
So as we're gonna start working on planning for summer of '23, really reviewing what is it that our students need and, looking at resources and monitoring our programs so we can move forward and offer what students need in the summer.
All right, thank you.
Is there any intent to, knowing the students that participated in the summer reading program, to kind of track them for, I mean, I know it's down the road and the results really won't even come in until after next summer, but to see if there's any correlation with improved reading across the year in preparation for the SBAC and then follow on, or
Yes,
it's just a one-on?
We track our students annually. Our benchmark window is open. We are now doing STAR and Acadians testing, so we start progress monitoring now, and then we, after winter benchmark, that closes at the end of January, we compile our lists, and then we send them to our staff. But yes, we're continually monitoring and assessing and adjusting our instruction.
So I think, Ms. Berry, when we think about the students that were actually enrolled in summer school, is there some sort of correlation to try to track them to see how their scores in particular are doing? Did summer school actually have an impact on their fall and winter scores
STAR or
for STAR Acadians?
Yes, we can track them.
I always, for my son, it was a star, but I would see what happened. It's like even we put him in, by the time he took the star, the teacher would tell me, it's like, oh, we saw the improvement. And I didn't know that came from the summer though. It's like, oh, it does.
Spring to fall.
Spring to fall, very spring to fall.
Spring to fall would be
This isn't gonna come across as nice, and I'm not being mean. I've been mean to Jenny before, but I'm not, anyway, not intentionally. But so you can track them.
Yes.
Is there a plan in place to track them?
Yes, we could pull their names through our summer usage and check in on them.
And I think that's part of our continue to monitor. What's the return on investment? And I think that's the conversation we need to have. These programs were resourced through ESSER dollars. ESSER dollars are no longer going to be with us. So the question is, was there a return on investment? Where is the greatest need? And do we resource from somewhere else for summer programs? Is it going to be worth the impact dollars being shifted from somewhere else? So the answer to that is yes. And how do we, just like we did with Jumpstart Kinder, we were able to take their scores, how were they ready compared to students that were not prepared through Jumpstart Kinder. So the answer will be yes, we need to track that, and we need to determine the return on investment, whether or not we fund at what level summer programs for next summer.
So is there value to the board in letting us know how that?
Well, no, that's
works?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, because we will be coming back with where do the resources come,
Right.
and the priority of what we fund for summer programming based on what we learned from this last summer,
I
or the
remember
last 2 summers actually.
This is what the board asked in the beginning when we asked for accountability and return on investments. We asked them, regardless of certain things can't be monitored, let's figure out how do we find out if it's succeeding. Remember, to get rid of certain programs that are not and getting that assessment. So, and I do believe it's January.
I get it,
And
but my
I-
concern is whether we receive the updates as we go along, as opposed to just, yes, we can, yes, we're gonna, and that's.
Well,
That's what this-
We've made the commitment to every study session
Every
to
study
have
session.
student progress, and also, we're going to be looking at the retreat and budget in preparation, for, putting
Update,
that
yeah.
together, yeah.
That's
So-
what the board demanded on
So I
administration,
think
make sure.
we have a plan to do like that K-5 student, maybe, so if we
K-5?
can look at some of that, you know,
Yes.
imagine
Yes,
learning
we're
students
about
that,
that.
at that
We
same
can-
session.
We'll be
this
looking
we
at
can
weekend.
say
STAR
that we'll
data,
bring that to
Acadians
the-
data.
The reading data, elementary reading
That will
data
be included
study session, we
in
can
November.
actually have students pulled out for their data, not by name, but
Right.
for their
Right,
data.
for the data part of it.
Right, and that would be great, look.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? All right. I didn't get to call you, to ask you about this, Director Green. Anything for the legislative report
Just
this week?
pulled out the notes and looking forward to Friday.
Yeah,
And you know how to get on and everything. You got the
Yeah, I
credentials.
got all that stuff. What I'm really looking forward to is, FedEx is supposed to deliver my new Starlink system.
So we have-
Going from maybe 20 megabytes of download to, and upload to like 150 will be
Yeah.
nice if I can make it work, but.
Can you give the audience just a brief of what you're talking about with,
With the
regards
Star?
to this weekend?
No,
No,
General
wait.
Assembly.
We have the
The
general,
legislative assembly.
so we have the
General Assembly.
General Assembly this weekend, Friday and Saturday. There are standing and positions and amendments to positions, that, Washington School Directors Association, has. So we conducted, I think at the last study session, we went through and looked at positions. There were 3 of us there, but, so I have some feeling for what the district's position is on these, and I'll be the voting delegate for each of those items, yay or nay. So, that's what's coming up for this weekend. And then following that, there'll be a survey, around the positions asking for, district priorities. And then when that survey's up, I'll get the results of that survey and get them submitted. Unfortunately, the deadline for submitting them is 6 hours prior to, is it 6 hours?
Hour.
Or an hour? Okay. So it's just a matter of hours or an hour prior to, our board meeting, so, I'll take whatever I get, compile it, and list provide our priorities to WASDA, based on those inputs that I get from the board members.
And then WASDA will compile them from all 295 school districts, and that gives WASDA their legislative priorities for the legislative session in January. So it's our voice for.
So I was hoping it would rain for 2 days.
Does this way you can
Like
sleep.
the sun will be out and it'll probably be like 72 degrees, and I'll be sitting inside doing this.
Great. Last year, Jeannie and I did it. And it was just a great experience overall.
It's a good experience.
Yeah.
This is why we get the big bucks.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. 2 days ago. It was a long 2 days. Thank you, Director Green, and Director Tracy as well. Anything that you want to add, legislative-wise? No.
No, you can check that in the decision.
Yeah, that's good. Next, we have updates on back-to-school staffing. Ms. Beckman.
Good evening. Tonight is my annual opportunity to kind of share with you where we are in our staffing. So lots and lots of busy work has been happening, and similar to what Kristen said, it does take a village to staff an organization of our magnitude, and everyone has pitched in. I hope not too awkwardly, anyone who would like to work in our organization, I'll be happy to stick around afterwards and find the perfect spot for you to have fulfillment in your life. And it's those types of conversations that have been happening everywhere with anyone that we meet. We went to Whaling Days, walked in a parade, got to meet people and hand out information cards. We had a booth at the Kitsap County Fair and engaged with kids and families and community members and passed out information and got names of people who wanted to find out more. Our HR staff attended every back-to-school event at all of our schools, and it was wonderful. Not only to be part of that excitement, but also to get a list of parents in our community that were like, yeah, I have some time to help out. And they put their name on a list, and we called them and got their application going and some interviewing. So it was well worth our time and energy to attend all of those back-to-school events.
Rebecca, I understand that your former board member has signed up to.
I saw him at Fairview, and I was like, what are you doing, Mr. Stokey?
To substitute, not to volunteer, but to substitute.
Yes, he is
He's in it for the cash, he's retired.
Yes,
Is he
yes.
a teacher, right?
It was quite comical, because
He
at
was a
first when
nursing professor at
I saw him, he was like, what? And then I said, just write your name down and we'll talk more later. And so,
He's
yeah,
excited.
it was super cute. So you can kind of see the number of staff members in the different categories that we hired. So lots of new faces and people to get to know in our district. The next slide shows
Impressive.
I know, anticipation.
It takes its time.
The next slide will show our affirmative action update according to policy 5010, where we break down the demographics so that you can see. As I was looking at these more closely today, I think there is one number that is incorrect, and if it is, as we dig in when I get back to the office more, I believe the classified number of African Americans that we hired is not 0. I believe that there should be a numeral there. Once I know what that is, I'll update the slide. We are not making the progress that I would hope. Last year, our percentage of people of color that we hired in the district was 18%. This year, it is 19%.
And I know before COVID, just to let you, if you stayed with us, you know, Jeannie and I and Erin had a huge conversation about this. We were working to try to implement a lot of that, and the work that we continued after COVID had opened was me reaching out to a couple of BSUs and working on getting that process. So it's something that we definitely have talked about and definitely worked about. And I said that when I got on the board, that was my number one. If I can leave off the board with anything, is increasing those numbers. But we do have a plan, and it has been working in the back to get those things, casting that net, as we were saying.
Right. And we will expand our efforts. So this year we'll add 2 HBCUs to our spring recruiting or winter spring recruiting events. And we've actually found some colleges that recruit from multiple colleges for this annual fair, educational fair. So we'll be expanding our efforts in building relationships, and we'll see if we can entice some people to come teach in Washington State. The next slide shows that not only are we working on finding outstanding candidates for our district, but we're also growing teachers in our organization at pretty high numbers. So it's always, I think it's interesting for you to see how many staff members either are doing practicums in our schools or actually engaged in our student teaching. And those are wonderful people that become really good candidates because we meet them. We get to watch them teach and actually get recommendations from their master teachers in the district. They get to watch them for 3 to 6 months and then be able to speak firsthand to the quality that they'll bring into a classroom if we were to hire them. So I love encouraging our current staff to grow the profession and take on student teachers. And I think that's the last slide. Yeah.
All right, next we have, not going anywhere, Jeannie Beckham with exceptions to classroom teaching, first semester, Ms. Beckham.
Yes, tonight I ask for your approval of these exceptions to classroom teaching for first semester. There could be a couple more as master schedules get settled. You'll notice that this request is a little bit larger. I try to keep it to 1 page. It's very interesting, the rules of OSPI and who we have to report. It's very complicated. It's very specific. I got a little bit of I knew a little bit. Shelley gave me a little more information today, just enough to make me dangerous and ask more questions. But it is interesting that you can have someone, for instance, in the biology world. So you take a staff member who has an endorsement to teach science grades 4 through 12, can teach biology in the high school, but is out of endorsement for teaching AP biology. That one course requires that we do an exception. So the rules are very tight and very specific for who is out of endorsement and who is not.
I just before I say, because my sister taught, and I remember her degree was strictly in English, and she had to do this and switch to history for one. And she wanted to stay in history because she said the children were more engaged. So sometimes you never know, switch over, you find your love, and she never knew. All right, do we have a motion to approve the 2022-2022 exceptions to classroom teaching assignment for the first semester as presented?
Move approval of the 2022-23 exceptions to classroom teacher assignment for the first semester as presented.
Do we have a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and with the unanimous, the 2022-2023 exceptions to classroom teaching assignment for the first semester will stand as presented.
Thank you.
All right. Ooh. Oh man, I'm gonna enjoy this one. Okay. And if you guys have not, well, anybody that has got to see our play, our beautiful, beautiful play, got to see and witness our Performing Arts Center. So this is going to be a good one. Next, we hear updates of our State of Performing Arts Center, Mr. Beal and Mr. Fox.
Yes, I want to give you a little bit of Mr. Fox's background first.
Please.
So you can enjoy the presentation even more. We're very fortunate to have Mr. Don Fox on staff here in Central Kitsap School District. He formerly toured with the Moscow Ballet as the lighting designer and production manager, touring in every major performing arts center and theater in the United States. Prior to that, he was also part of a dance tour in China, serving as a technical director, lighting, and video designer for performances in 20 major opera houses across the country. He also worked with the Silver Sea Cruises on 4 ships in the Mediterranean, providing training for stage technicians and implementing system improvements for performance spaces. He's also helped open performing arts centers before. He was on a team that opened an $80 million multi-venue performing arts center for the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs. Most recently, he taught at the University of Arizona, where we stole him from. And I'm very grateful to have Don here tonight to give us an update on our Performing Arts Center here in Central Kitsap School District. Please help me welcome Mr. Don Fox.
Good evening, board and attendees to the meeting. I have the best job in the world, and I'm here to share with you a little bit about what we've done over the last year and what we're doing now to prepare for the future. So with that, we'll just dive right into the state of the pack. And I sort of have a working mission. Mature performing arts centers all have their mission that they are working toward, and ours right now is to create, educate, and inspire our community. And coming out of a global pandemic in the polarized environment that we find ourselves in, often this mission means all the more, and a performing arts center is uniquely positioned to meet these kinds of needs. With every event over the last year and with every event that we will pursue this year and beyond, we are continuing to build a foundation for success. And that might be something from the Battle of the Bands to a choir concert to an all-district jazz festival, and then our rental events, which are solidly starting up with the local dance studios, In Motion Dance Company from Poolsbo and the Academy of Dance Port Orchard are already embarking on their second and third events coming up this holiday season, with each will be presenting a Nutcracker, and they've already booked out begging for dates as far as 5 years in advance. So they love us and we love having them, and it certainly meets part of our mission to have these rental events here. We culminated in this summer with a fantastic production of Willy Wonka, which I'm sure you all heard about. Close to 100 kids performed in the show. We had close to 100 parent volunteers helping out, an orchestra of 20 plus pieces as a mixture of adult mentor musicians working with our high schoolers, and a crew of about 15 middle school stage crew apprentices assisting parent volunteers backstage. And we played the show for 5 performances, 5 very successful performances. For our first year out, self-producing our first big production, we'll call it a resounding success. So I hope you were able to check that out. One of the things that is sort of behind the scenes, but true to our development of organizational capacity, is that all of our rental processes had to be developed from the ground up, basically. And that will include things like a technical information package so that prospective venue users know the schematics of the stage and the dimensions and the lighting inventory, the sound resources and video resources available for us. And then a rental information package, which is largely the policies and procedures and the rules of our venue, what you can and can't do when you come and play in our space. But one of the things that we're really invested in, I'll touch on this in a moment, is the success of, I call them our production partners, our rental clients and our other community partners, so that when they use our venue, they don't wind up thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. Helping them navigate the financial side of mounting a successful production is part of the service that I want our Performing Arts Center to offer, so that we see these people come back year after year after year. And then we also have financial pathways that had to be established with our own business office. How do we invoice people for deposits? How do we take the ticket money? How do we return the ticket money back to the client after they paid their rental fees, and so on and so forth? All of those things were developed. One of the major financial tools that I created for not only our own events, but for our production partners to use is a Performing Arts Center production budget template that is customized for our venue. Every seat in our house is represented here. We're able to have these clients take this production budget template, put in all their expenses, their projected attendance, target an average ticket price that they want to wind up at, and then the spreadsheet will spread that ticket out across from the front row to the back row, scaling the auditorium so that we can charge appropriate ticket prices and help them reach financial success. Another level of organizational capacity that we had to meet was in having a box office. So using hometown ticketing, which now our athletics department is also using, we ventured into the world of online ticketing, which allows us to provide reserved seating for our patrons, personalized ADA services. We have patrons that call and say, I use a walker, but I want to be seated in the front, or I use a wheelchair and I want to be in the back, or I use a wheelchair and I want to sit in a real seat and have someone take the chair away. All of these are customized services that Hometown helps us support. And then we're able to provide instant box office reports for every event. So typically during intermission of a dance school concert or whatever, I'll print up the box office receipt for that performance and hand it to them before they even leave the door. They know exactly how many people we've scanned in, what they've sold for that show, and they have a very strong sense of knowledge in terms of how they are doing on the financial side of their event. And then the scaled ticket pricing is really great because this provides a lot of options for not only our patronage, but for their patronage. People can spend more on a seat or spend less on a seat as their family budget allows, and the organization will still meet their average ticket. So it's a really powerful tool to be able to do that. We also instituted a volunteer usher program. The first group to pilot this was the West Sound Chorus, who did a summer concert with us and will be back in the holiday season to do that. The way this works is that they contribute time and they get points that eventually add up like your Safeway rewards card and knocks off a few dollars off of your rental. But more exciting for us is the fact that this usher program will be implemented with the National Honor Society and Key Club at Central Kitsap and any of the schools, so that those students that need to earn community service hours can do that by being ushers at our events. Another indicator of our organizational capacity development was a huge investment in technical capability. And people ask me all the time, well, when you got here last August, didn't we have technical stuff? And I sort of use the metaphor of, yeah, you moved into a house and you have a washer and a dryer and a refrigerator and maybe you've got a garage door opener, but you still need towels and plates and pots and pans and beds and tables and chairs. All of those things were things that we kitted out the venue with so that even the small specialty items for a basic production we have on hand, and we're able to meet those needs. This also allows us to position the CK Pack at the leading edge of what is possible. So things like moving light package, the absolutely gorgeous video wall, the wireless production intercom, which seems like such a mundane thing, but having a stagehand stand backstage and know that they can speak to somebody wirelessly in the green room or in the band room or the choir room to send the next group to the stage is a huge advantage over other venues where everybody is tethered to the side of the stage with a cable. Stage monitor speakers so that performers can hear themselves, microphone stands, garment racks. These things seem simple, but when you need them for a show, you need them, and now we have them, and this is a huge benefit for our users. Folding tables and tablecloths, power tools, rechargeable batteries for microphones, and many, many small things that make even a basic show possible we now have. We made a huge investment this last year in our artistic capability and the venue reputation. We are now able to be taken seriously in the world of performing arts centers by one acquisition, and that is the Steinway concert piano, which was always planned for the venue, and then last year we found an excellent condition pre-owned Steinway that we were able to acquire and bring home to the Central Kitsap Performing Arts Center. We'll be doing an inaugural concert for this instrument on November 3rd, and we're already calling for musicians, both students and adults in the area, to submit works for consideration. That's a juried concert. We're looking forward to presenting that instrument as well. We're also developing the community, not only our students and performers and technicians through every show and event that we do, but also involving teachers, both backstage, on stage, through meetings, events, shows, and their opportunity to be in the orchestra. Parent volunteers, we would not have been able to do the Willy Wonka show without the participation of parents, and I really, really believe that the performing arts is uniquely situated to involve the parents in our community, in the lives of their students, and in our schools in a much less confrontational way than sometimes we find ourselves at, where we're talking about grades or behaviors or whatever. Having these people come together and make a show happen really does generate a sense of community, bringing together community volunteers, and then our production partners or rental clients are all part of the community that we are developing through our endeavors at the Performing Arts Center. This list includes the Kitsap Philharmonic, the YMCA, In Motion Dance Company, Academy of Dance Port Orchard, Irene Bowling Piano Studios, Kitsap Music Teachers Association, Olympic Music Educators Association, Bremerton West Sound Symphony, the West Sound Chorus, and the list is growing for those performing arts and not so performing arts organizations that are coming to make use of our space. We're increasing our educational capacity through the offering this semester of the first entertainment production class. This is part of our CTE department, but it is equally benefit to both career-bound and college-bound students. We are in the first class of this, and it's just fantastic. These kids leave every day going, wow, that was so cool. And then because this class is repeatable, we'll see these students develop these skills over the next few years, and really looking forward to growing with them in that. So if 21-22 was about getting up and running, 22-23 is about intentional development. Where do we go from here? Now that we have all the stuff, and now that we have some of the relationships in the community to do what we need to be doing, one of the main things that we're working on is how do we streamline our communications efforts out into the community? How do we make our community aware of what awesome things we are doing in the Performing Arts Center, whether it be through social media, community bulletin boards, or our own website? How we get the word out is part of what we're very focused on. Many of our rental events require some more adult presence than just me backstage to fly things in and out, to take care of the backstage side of things. So we have created, in partnership with the Human Resources Department, a way to hire a pool of very irregular part-time stage technicians who are qualified when I pick up the phone and call and say, hey, can you come spend 10 hours this week working with the Nutcracker Show for Academy of Dance Port Orchard, that we have a pool of technicians that are qualified and able to do that on a very irregular basis. We're still continuing to focus on community and partner success, leveraging all the benefits of Hometown, financial tools, our seating chart, and one of the ways that we are, sorry, I didn't mean to advance the slide. One of the ways that we really want to continue doing this is exploring how we can make our online tools benefit our production partners in the community as much as they benefit us. We'll benefit the other schools in the district. I don't know if you've been backstage at Clahowyer recently, but it is overloaded with costumes and props. But we have a nice space on the 3rd floor of the Performing Arts Center where we can create a district-wide costume and prop library. So we're beginning to shuttle costume and prop items over from Clahowyer and Ridgetop to be cataloged, digitized, and then stored in that space for everyone to have access to. Also creating a CK Pack membership program. I'm calling it the CK Pack Pass. We do a lot of free events at the space for our middle school and high school band, choir, and orchestra events especially, but we need to capture that patron data. We need to know who those people are that are coming to see those shows. So one of the benefits of getting online with your CK Pack Pass and reserving your seat in advance for your choir concert, it's still a free event. The other people, when they show up at the door, are gonna get general admission just like they always have, but the people who went online and reserved their seat ahead of time are going to find that their seat has been labeled for them and that's been set aside for them. We'll also be able to do advanced ticket offerings or discounts and things like that to those people. Continuing student training, not only with the entertainment production class, but through choir, band, orchestra, and drama programs and the events that they produce on stage. And we want to solidify a plan for what we're going to do in the summertime every year, whether it's the same type of all kids, all district musical, whether it's something different, whether it cycles every 1, 2, or 3 years, what that looks like for our summers is something that we want to really nail down probably within the next few months so that we can make a big announcement before the winter break. So what's the current outlook for the Central Kitsap Performing Arts Center? I would say it's very optimistic and full of potential. And again, I've got the best job in the world. So thanks you very much.
Let me tell you, I'm not even gonna go because you and I have had conversations. I've sent the specs down to people that I know in New York on Broadway, and just like, this is at a high school. Are you kidding me? It's like, so I think the Willy Wonka show definitely proved the level of performance and the level that, you know, you guys put everybody at, especially the students. It was just, I mean, like I said, I was blown away by it. I think that it was well put together on it. But not only that, I think this is the opportunity for students and, you know, people in Kitsap County to have something that can take them 10 times forward. I mean, your resume shows that the Performing Arts Center, performing arts, just it's a world that just doesn't stop. It keeps going and going. And I think, you know, my work in the entertainment industry has shown that entertainment is something that's never going to go away. You know, so when you have this type of skills and this type of setting to actually do that work, that's earnest in teaching them how to go to Broadway, go to California, go to San Francisco, and it's endless. And I rave about it all the time. I'll stop because I keep going on about it. But it's just amazing. Anything from the board or?
You touched on it, but I just so one, like, fantastic and so excited. On the usher program, the volunteer usher program is just making sure that it's not just CK high school students. You know, that just because they might hear about it more because, you know, it's right there, and it's making sure that, you know, our Ole and our Clahowgan, even if our Barker Creek students, you'll want to have that opportunity, that we make sure that that's
absolutely
that's available for them. So that's just my, you know, it's just making sure we
push it out.
we spread all those opportunities.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah, I thank you. I can't say it much. Anything else? Come on.
Is this what you wanted me to ask?
Yes.
It says, bring up how is it funded?
Bring up how is the Performing Arts Center
Which is
funded,
what
or
was
how-
already on this one already.
Oh, yeah, no.
But so, I'll phrase it differently.
Sure.
Okay. I was a big proponent of the original plan for Ridgetop as the School of Arts, and it probably came out of a conversation that I had with a previous superintendent, and then thinking out loud. What I see here is fabulous. Okay, and I'll be honest. So I was in Kansas this weekend, really for a football game, but my football coach son says, "Dad, you got to go see the school district Performing Arts Center." And it's an interesting combination because it's an aquatic center with an awesome swimming pool, which is really what appealed to me because that was my sport 50 years ago, and everything. But the Performing Arts Center, just obviously wasn't anything going on in there, but it was tremendous and similar to what we have here. Everything else. And he works for the district, and he's had some opportunities to go see a couple of things in the short time that he's been working there. And it's the same level of performance that he's seen here, that we're seeing here, I think. So I think that's fabulous. But listening to the presentation and everything, I am curious as to how we paid for all of those things.
Sure.
And that's probably not for you to answer. That's for somebody else to answer, and we can get an answer. I'm not necessarily looking for that right now. And I think I really do think it's fabulous. What I will offer up is the level of professionalism that you've brought to this program, to take it as far as, you know, because that space has more or less sat there until we made the investment in you and all the stuff the expertise that you bring. You know, that's what's bringing that facility alive. I would offer up that the expectation in other areas in the district, such as athletics across the district and everything else, is that the level of expertise that you bring, that we should be pursuing that, and the level of commitment to the quality of those programs across the district at all of our secondary schools and the like, is something that I think that the board hopes and expects eventually to see. So thank you for what you've brought to that. Thank you for me for putting a standard out there that I can continue to poke and poke and poke and poke and say, you know, because there were $5 million for athletics, activities, and drama. Okay, so it's a pretty good idea. I have a pretty good idea where that funding came from. You know, part of that $5 million. I'm hoping that you didn't get 4.8 of that to do it. I'm sure that you didn't. But you see, but I'm talking to you, but I'm not talking to you. Okay, I think our the expectation, I think, needs to be high with all of our programs, academic, athletic, activities, drama. There's a million of them, or not a million of them, but there's 1,000 of them that we could probably list, and they're all equally important. So thank you for putting this out there and giving me an opportunity to actually say that's something that I've been wanting to say for long, but that's the expectation I think that the board needs to have as we move forward with all of our programs. That, you know, it wasn't that long ago that the unquestioned best district in the county was CK. Okay, and this kind of thing, well, it's not up there anymore, but this kind of presentation and these kind of expectations, okay, and hard work and organization are what it takes to do that. And I think that needs to be the message, and now I'm speaking to my fellow board members, that needs to be the expectation that we as a group project out to the superintendent, the cabinet, and everybody else, and that everybody understands that, you know, that we can do this, and we can put out quality products like this, and we should be doing that, because that's what the community and that's what the kids deserve.
Casey, go ahead, Cassie. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say I went to Richtofen Middle School and I participated in C-Stock for a long time, which if you don't already know, it's like a community theater program here, and a lot of my friends have, and we like grew up like in theater and in plays and like loving music and being able to perform and knowing that kids like us are going to be gifted this like amazing center, it means a lot, and knowing that it's like taken care of and in good hands means a lot for like our dreams and aspirations and being able to pursue the things that we want to do. So from a student's perspective, you're doing a great job. And every time I see you, I'm gonna be like, thank you so much.
Hold on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we got a presentation on, you have a plan for the common space at Ridgetop.
Yeah, Ridgetop, yes.
And so, which is your problem, you know, I'm gonna enjoy saying this, you're too old.
Yeah.
Go back. I have big
But
plans
those
for many
that are
spaces.
coming behind you will have an opportunity to do productions at the School of the Arts at the Ridge. That you had a chance to do, but probably not at the level that they're gonna have.
I want to bring up one thing, and this is how you know his skill. Did you notice that his slides did not stop once? And for the last 2 years, nobody's ever been able to take the slides from that side.
That's what happens when you're working with $5 million.
Exactly.
Don't fix it for the future.
I just want to say that. The slides did not stop, and he kept clicking. Just
Now
let
we
me
know
know
where the money went.
Nah, but I thank you. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank
So
you.
before you leave,
Sure.
a couple of things. Number one, very, very fortunate to have your talent here. Number two, we recognize that, and Don's title stretches beyond CK High School and performing arts. He is the district performing arts, right? So as the Performing Arts Center, which is a district and community place of gathering and incredible, right? It will stretch and expand and include all of our district areas so that it all feeds in. And so SOAR, School of the Arts, at the Ridges, at the Ridgetop, and Foley, and Clahalia, and all of our spaces will be touched by your talent and your vision. The other piece I want to mention, really is, and this is for another board meeting at some point, but the creative mind and vision of the funding, right? First of all, thank you to our community. Right?
Exactly.
There's no question that this is the result of our community through the bond and through the levy. So both of those. And how do we expand the vision and the creativity of funding? Not only are we creating an opportunity for-profit coming in and using our venue, and how do we, provide for that space and benefit, and how do we create the potential of a nonprofit supporting this? So there are pieces in play that the board will get more information, but I just want you to know that vision it goes beyond that. And so Eric, to your point, how do we not only build, because they will come, but how do we build and sustain and make this efficient and smart, not just for performing arts that just touches across our whole community, but that it will raise the bar and elevate the standard for our educational innovation in STEM and mathematics and reading, as well as athletics. So thank you, Don, for your vision. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Next is enrollment report, and stop talking now.
That is me. So
that's for September only, though.
this is really a 1 month look. We kind of take a look at enrollment, and so I want to give the board just a kind of a preview here for the month of September. As you know, we set enrollment, we budget and do projections, fairly conservative projections. Paula's not here tonight to give these, so I'm going to share with you. For the September, we will come back each month, and it does change a little bit, but this is the first glance. Our student population report, I think you're close. Are you gonna put that up? No? Okay, so you have it, okay. So if you look at the first page on the student population report for 22-23, let me pull it up for myself
And it's only because it's
on
really
November.
tiny.
It's teeny
You wouldn't
tiny.
be able to see it if you put it.
But I'll give the audience a little bit of information here. So when you look at the totals, you can see that our student enrollment is down from last year. So we are down approximately 100 students. That equates to about $1.4 million, okay? So we know that this is following a national trend. We also know that other districts across our area have low enrollment, especially in kindergarten. So kindergarten is an area that we're seeing some low enrollment. We're also looking at other factors. So we're looking at homeschooling and military and transfers. And so what I can say is that when we look at the trends, we see that kindergarten is down. We see that Limerick High School is down in enrollment. We see that our virtual academies have dropped in enrollment. We see that our Homeschool Parent Connect program has dropped in enrollment. Now, remember, this is 1 month, so we'll see a little bit of a bump. We may see different trends next month, but those are our initial takes. So digging in a little bit deeper, I wanted to just let the board know that when I looked at, okay, well, let's talk about homeschool. So if our enrollment's down 100, are we seeing an increase in homeschooled students? Are people moving to homeschool? And that is not the case. So we actually are down in homeschooled students from last year in all grade levels. So we looked at that. We also looked at transfers in and out of our district. So I looked at last year's transfers into our district, and they are actually up compared to last year, in high school especially. Now this is interesting because if you remember, we really put a cap on middle school, CK Middle School and CK High School, and didn't allow any out-of-district transfers into those two schools because we want to get the numbers down and get them balanced to where their capacity really should be. However, the transfers into our district are higher than they were last year. And so that's good news. Transfers out of district, so that would explain maybe the drop in enrollment, but our transfers out of district are actually down compared to last year. And so, and Virtual Academy is down. And if Virtual Academy is down, the transfers out of district are down. So there's a lot of questions that we still need to kind of dig in and look at some of the trends. Again, You know, there are some explanations nationally. There's a delay in in bringing kids into kindergarten. That's one. I think we're seeing a trend there as we look at some of the statistics. We're looking at a higher rate of homelessness, right? And I think that that's an unfortunate piece that we need to look a little bit closer. With 11,000 students, 100 students, where are they, right? And we need to really track this and look at it closely, because when we look at our trending and you look at the second sheet, it shows that over time, over the months, as we look at our enrollment, and you remember this when Paula talks with us as well, that by the end of the year, we trend down typically with students by about 100. So with our enrollment projection based on what we budgeted at 100 down now in September, the trend would say, right, for our Central Kitsap, that we would lose another 100 by the end of the year. That's 200 down, $2.8 million, right? So the board, we will be having conversations, which we are already.
Yeah.
You did hear from Jeannie Becken. Our HR department has been following this really closely. The good news is that we are not overstaffed terribly, and so we've been really tracking this and being very conservative with our staffing. And so we will keep monitoring and talking about this. We'll have more in-depth conversation and more information at our December retreat around budget and what does that look like and how do we prepare. But if you remember last spring, we were in let's look at 2 years out, knowing that the possibility with our demographer and all of the indications that enrollment's gonna drop a little bit. So,
and I say when she and I was in DC, that was the one thing I said, well, balance, where things are at. In my work in the homelessness right now, we're seeing in encampments children, and it's something that, I don't think we today the chamber had a meeting on it, and it's something that I think is really not being looked at as far as data from in our industry. We're doing it when they come to school with McKinney Vento, but we're not doing it where when we say that there's a family, we're not saying, hey, there's a child in an encampment. And I've been saying this, I think, even Paula about it, is like, how do we get that? And that's something that just as an industry of social services, I think we really have to start taking that very serious, because I believe, and I've said this to you, and I've said this to my fellow board members, that think that's a number that is really not being looked at as far as our homeless children, that especially newer parents that are becoming homeless, that they don't know how to navigate in that space right now, living out of a car and being able to take. So that's just my take on it. But I'm glad that we're diving deep on it and seeing where we're at as a district with it.
Are we seeing similar, and I don't know if we're talking to them or not, are neighboring districts seeing the same issues?
I've spoken with a couple of our neighboring districts. They're seeing the same trends, especially kindergarten. South Kitsap is down 100 students as well. The one district, Peninsula, is up about 86 students, so they are up. So we're seeing a little bit of trending.
But they tend to get some South Kitsap kids.
And that may be what happened with South Kitsap, is there may have been some move south. Yeah.
And I mean, look, I'm gonna put it out there. It's expensive to live. It is really expensive to live in certain areas, and people cannot afford it. So I think it's what you had said. People are actually moving away from the district and finding places that are affordable to live as well. So just to say those two, not making excuses on any of it, but there's a reason for it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next we have Robin Shoemaker with an update on capital facilities plan. Ms. Shoemaker.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
I'm standing in for Paula tonight, so I hope I can answer any questions you have. I understand that you have been recently updated on the impact fee calculations. So we'll just go through these slides quickly, kind of hit a couple of highlights. So the purpose of the capital facilities plan is, it's a 6-year planning document. This one is for the period of 2023 through 2028. And upon your approval tonight of it, we will be submitting it to Kitsap County for their use and their Growth Management Act planning for the county. So that is pretty much the highlights on this slide. Next slide, please.
faster.
Shouldn't have bought those computers from the government. Should've seen my computer at work today.
Well, while we're changing slides, I will offer that Don Fox, who spoke shortly ago, has been a great help to us, in some of our planning on other projects. I know it was mentioned about his liquor being,
Yeah.
we're way of a dime, so. So what's changed since last year? We have really zoomed in on early childhood centers being located at a couple of sites, one on the east side and one on the west side. And then we're looking at additional capacity plan with the Brownsville replacement. In our capital facilities plan, it contemplates our need for another probably 18 elementary classrooms in coming years. And so we'll continue some reliance upon portables where needed, but this is the goal here as we move forward to plan for these added capacity elements. The demographic data was updated, and of course the calculation of impact fees was also updated. Next, please. So this indicates more specifics about the financing plan for 2023. So the projects in the plan adding capacity are the elementary school replacement projected for Brownsville Elementary School, and then the two early childhood learning facilities. One is at Esquire Hills, anticipated, and the location to be determined more on the west side to manage load. And then project 2023 financing plan projects not adding capacity are the current middle school replacement underway at Fairview, and elementary school modernizations plan for Clear Creek, Esquire Hills, and Woodlands. So those will stay at the same capacity size. And it also outlines here kind of the funding model, all involving some state funding, also involving federal or bond funding as well. Next slide. And then this is the school impact fees, how they're calculated, and how they must be used for school facilities that are addressed by a capital facilities plan, which is the reason we're asking for approval tonight. And they only apply to residential construction, and we don't collect them, the county does, and then we get them from them. And any exemptions for school impact fees must be approved by the school district. Next. So the Washington State approved calculation factors in these inputs that are listed here, and only supports projects adding capacity, hence the slide previously where we talked about those projects adding capacity. And the unfunded need per new residential dwelling, this indicates, you know, what we're missing in impact fee currently. And so these are the rates that have been identified for the unfunded need calculation. So in order to implement this, we're adopting this capital facilities plan this evening. And then we're gonna send it to Kitsap County, this along with the SEPA determination, which is our next action item. And they will amend their school facilities, capital facility plan, and we will be in parallel requesting to amend their code concerning school impact fees. So that's kind of the follow-on activities that will come after tonight's approval. Any
All right,
questions
do
or
we have any
comments?
questions or comments from the board? Even though we already did. You've answered so many of them. Do we have a motion to approve the capital facilities plans as presented?
Move approval of the capital facilities plan as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And with unanimous, the capital facility plan will stand up as approved, presented. Thank you.
So next up, we are recommending the approval of the determination of non-significance for the State Environmental Policy Act, SEPA, for the 2023-2028 Capital Facilities Plan. And again, as mentioned before, it's required as part of the Capital Facilities Plan approval. It's an interesting SEPA and determination of non-significance here because it's a district-wide. Normally, we do them on project basis, so if you were to look through all the details listed in the environmental checklist for the SEPA, it talks about, you know, district-wide, you know, details really to follow later. It's part of the process, and so we go through, we do advertise it and say that, you know, we've made this determination. And we don't really expect there will be comments, but certainly people have the opportunity then to look at it and to look at our capital facilities plan and know kind of the roadmap forward. So it will be advertised for a period of 2 weeks, and then that period will close. and that will be the end of that for this year. Both of these documents are updated annually to support the reset of the 6-year period to the county for the capital facilities plan. So if there are no questions on that, would appreciate the action.
All right, any questions from the board? All right. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve the separate
Approval of the determination of
separate.
non-significance of sector review for the
Thank you.
2023-28 capital facilities plan as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, and with unanimous consent, determination of the non-significance of separate review for the 2023-2028 capital facilities plan will stand as approved as presented. And I just want to say this on this, and I think, you know, your department, Doug's not here, but, you know, all of our schools definitely need to upgrade. All of our schools need things, and what I really loved about CK School District, and you know, even with running for the board, was we always thought about the future. And I'll just say this publicly, that we are gonna get to our schools. May not be with us on the board, but it's in this plan to get there. And I think that, you know, from somebody I met recently that was just like, oh my God, I went to CK and they went to that old school that the libraries, and I was like, now to see that school. So it will happen. It's just the time and then resources and money. And I think understanding how important, when we left DC, this is what we echoed, schools need to be built for today's time. And it's something that I think that just needs to be echoed out from our state and federal legislators to fund building schools. So I think your department and staff will definitely put in this future together for us.
Okay, we have one more.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
Fairview
I know.
update.
Fairview update.
Yeah, but the Fairview was up to date, that's why.
Yeah. So,
Strategic.
you can go to the next slide, please.
It proves my point.
So I wanted to give you an update on Fairview, and of course, those of you who were able to be at the groundbreaking recently, and it was just a lovely event. You know, a lot of parents in attendance. Obviously, it was an open house night, but still, it was a great opportunity for them to get eyes on and feel the energy that will be occurring and has been occurring already at Fairview. So I wanted to give an update. The design of Fairview is about 75 to 80% complete, which is, you know, significantly down the road. Construction, we did the early work, the demolition and utility relocate this summer, adjacent to and alongside the county's work on Central Valley improving the sidewalks, which is a great resource for us because we are utilizing that for students walking from the church where there's some you know, pickup area that has been identified, and it's not too far away, and they've been greatly cooperative with us. So kudos to our community for that ability to flex with us. So we were hoping to be starting with construction of the site work on September 7th, and that would be followed by the building start on September 28th, that's today. We, however, have not gotten any of our permits. So they've all been submitted, and I'm gonna give an update in the next slide on just what that activity looks like. But it is impacting us. And so I wanted to come to you and share with you the impacts that we're seeing. We don't know the full extent of them, but we are trying to work the issue as best we might with inside of the budget resources we have. So the subcontractor buyout, and I might talk about that for a moment. A lot of you who've been exposed to projects in the past that we've done, some of them have been what we call design bid build. So we design it, then we bid it, and then we award a contract. More recently, on a couple of our larger projects, CK High School, Middle School, and Olympic, we've used an alternative public work process called GCCM, which is a general contractor construction manager. And in that case, we selected an architect, we did the design, but we were able to bring the contractor on earlier in the process, and they were able to work with us on refining design and cost. And so there's benefit to be had from that. On Fairview, we've stepped into a different alternative public work model yet, which is the design build model. And so we start off with the single team, and what that allows them to do is kind of continually do value engineering and cost assessment and pivot on design, material selections, and installation methods. So when we talk about the subcontractor buyout, this is a series of bids that the design build contractor is managing. And so to date, they have bid about 70% of the work. Not all of it has been awarded, and that's why it says, or it's in final negotiation. And what they're able to do is work with those bids that are coming in higher. So recently we had, in this amendment 3 area, we had bids came in higher on food service, on exterior metal building, and on other elements of the skin. And so they've been working with those subcontractors to try to negotiate prices in downward. And they have had some success with that. That happened in an earlier bid package on the site where our stormwater collection facility, they're looking at ways of installing it that can also be done more efficiently and more cost effectively. So it really is a very flexible tool for us to utilize to try to manage those costs as best possible in these uncertain times. That said, they are uncertain and the costs continue to move around. I think most people are trying to do the best they might in costing out work, but I think sometimes that people, they're business persons and they see opportunity, and so maybe there's some of that going on, we don't know. But I think they're mostly working to prevent the risk to their companies because materials are so delayed in coming. I heard recently that one of the vendors that we've used for mechanical air handling units in the past, Hawken, there's 2 years out to get air handling unit. I mean, it's crazy. So it's challenging times for contractors. Nonetheless, we're about 70% complete and we have 30% yet to occur of bidding, and most of that's the interior finishes of the building. And so we're not sure, we had a schedule for those, but we've kind of been pausing those a bit. Design is completing, but we're pausing the bidding, just waiting to see when we're gonna do the permitting and what it's really gonna look like going forward. So next slide, please. So on the permit front, this is a lot of an eye chart for you to look at. But in red, the 2 top permits, an administrative conditional use permit and then the site development activity permit next. Those 2 we do were the critical path permits. They were submitted back in March of this year, and you see in the fine print, like we'll take the top one. It was submitted March 18th for the ACUP, and they didn't officially intake it until May 16th. And part of that is it goes into a portal at the county, and then we have to work through if they have any questions or anything. It's far more time consuming than we had hoped it would be, but we're on it continually. But it's still a slower process than we had hoped for. And so now we're anticipating a probable, and we just spoke with the building official last week on the day I sent to Aaron that I wanted to give an update. He felt that, he was hoping for a late October post-staff report and appeal period to complete this. So you can see that's about a 7-month approval best case on the ACUP. Site development activity permit, similarly, went in March, had intake in May, and now they're looking at that. The ACUP has to occur before the site development activity permit. Now we're looking at probable mid to late December on it. So that's a 9-month approval, best case. In the past, we have seen those more on the order of 4 to 5 months. And some like CK High School, middle school, we ended up having a lot of amendments that kind of went in phases because of the size of the project. But like on Olympic, it was a shorter time period for sure. And then following that is the exterior building permit. We kind of split the building permits up into 2. We're now looking at possibly collapsing those into 1. That's working with the county. It was a recommendation of theirs possibly to save some time. We had thought it would work otherwise, but now because of where we are, they're recommending that, and so we're really listening and working with them to sort this out. So what this is pushing us to, as you can see, by the time we get building permit and the STAP issued, it's pushing us into a probable January start. And it may come a little sooner. I always remain optimistic, but I don't want to, I want to be realistic. And of course, we've asked the contractor to consider January, is that the best time to start? Worst time of year for weather. So do we then wait and start in March? Is that a more cost-effective approach? And so we've asked them to look at that. we continue to talk to them, we haven't heard back from them yet, they are looking at it very diligently. They're also having to pivot on some of their staffing that was already on site, ready to go. So some difference of players, all folks we worked with are quality, so I'm not terribly concerned about that, but there are costs to this, a cost to this permit delay, there's cost to the time of year work would be occurring. So we're aware of that, we've asked them to summarize that for us as best they might, and then we have further conversations. Next slide, please. And so this is the first column, our approved budget. This was in June of this year. We approved a $70 million funded budget. Of that, 53.9 was the estimated cost of the construction at the time. Currently, because of escalation, continued escalation, and bids they're receiving, they're showing a $56.2 million estimate of project cost. And that, as you can see by the asterisk down at the bottom, doesn't include all the permit delay impacts. So, it looks pretty serious as you sit here and look at it, a $2.4 million difference. Next slide, please. This does show, though, the top is the project cost impacts as I just described, but how we're looking to manage it. So we're continually value engineering, and this progressive design build method gives us great advantage in this, and being able to rework as needed sub buyout packages. We're looking to reduce and transfer some of our budgeted construction, our own construction contingency, and move it into the construction cost. We're at about 6% construction contingency now. We usually, for a new build, we might go 5. For a modernization, we'd always start out at 10 anyway. So, we're not unhealthy in where we are budgeted on that. If we are able to take some of that down, we could probably pick up $1 million there. I mean, that seems like a good decision to lean into. Similarly, we could reduce procurement of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, or defer it. It doesn't mean it won't happen forever, but that's something that we may do in the short term for part of that cost. We also are charging some of our staffing costs, some of our administrators, security to the project. We may have to look at that. That would be probably the least cost contributor to our budget consideration. But we also have costs where we changed from the Olympic High School campus to Fairview that were lost costs because of the time expended on design there. So, these things are in the mix. We're working all these fronts, and we will do the best we can with what we have on this, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and we will come back and report later. I probably wouldn't be doing a fair service if I didn't say we probably could need more funding added. How much of that, though, I don't have eyes on yet because of all these things we're working. So we're trying to solve as much as we can within budget, particularly not knowing the certainty of the permit timeline and the impacts, and then just the marketplace, which nobody really has a lot of control over, unfortunately.
And I thank you for it, because I know that this isn't, just so the audience knows, this is throughout, I'm not gonna just say our county, it's throughout our state too.
Oh, yes.
There's just a staffing issue. I mean, when I found out from one of our commissioners that it was literally one person doing this, and if you've driven around Kitsap, you've seen the construction, all of that has to go through one, so,
Right.
So I it's nothing that on ours, I think we were projected for what we wanted to do and to go forward, and I know our contingency is going with that. So now it's a matter of how do we rebudget. So I just would want to say this to the board that, thinking forward on this project and knowing that we may have to come back and do that, what's that cost to get this done? That's what's going to be once they give us that number, to make sure that we get it done for us. So I thank you for even just the budget on it, because I know it's hard now waiting. Because everything broke ground and now it's just waiting.
Yes, everything was in place to roll,
Yeah.
And so it is a waiting game. One thing I will mention, and we've worked very closely with the county, we've had multiple permitting meetings, multiple communications with them, just prompting them. I mean, they know who we are. And one of the things that we have heard is it has been the county's position that permit applications last in, last out, first in, first out. you know, we've made a pitch that, you know, schools are a bit of a special case. Certainly, we try to minimize the disruption to student learning. And I think any public project that's using public funds, it has limited resources. And so does it truly belong in the same column as private development? I know there's need for housing, need for medical. I mean, there are needs. You know, in fairness, everybody deserves their best shot, right? But I do think it's something that the county, it's something worth thinking about with commissioners. You know, is this something that we really? I know other counties, and talking to our consultants, have some prioritization for school and fire district permits because of the public money and the public good benefits served. So. You know, I don't know what the right answer is there, but I do know that we have not seen that there's any priority.
Well, and I think what will be helpful for the board and our community is what is the cost impact? I think when we have a bit of knowledge of, you know, for every month that they delay permitting, this, like you said, this is on the backs of students and on the backs of our taxpayers in this community. This is not a for-profit endeavor, right? And so how do we really advocate and challenge our county to step up and look at fast tracking our permits? We did fast track our demolition permit. It can be done, right? And so how do we get our voice, you know, heard at the county? And so we'll look to you for some of the talking points, and then I think as a board you'll want to, and I think we have, and I'm sure that we've got community members that will step up as well.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ms. Schubert.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
All right. Communications and announcements. keep mine short. I did have a lot of stuff, but I did want to keep it short. So coming back, the groundbreaking was really real, and like, you know, just coming off of that, just doing that, knowing that the project is officially like on the way and it's going, just to get it done. I brought my sons back afterwards, and you know, my oldest son is pissed because he's not going to see it, depending on when he gets billed. My second son, he gets to school, so he's really happy about it. And I think it's just important, and I'm glad that we talked about it. That has to be the priority, is getting our schools open for them. Coming back from DC with Impact Aid, I really say that something that was said in one of our legislative meetings one of our Senate meetings that I think is really crucial, is that how the support right now for students and education is not the priority. And some of the people I've talked to recently when I came back, just an email, you know, they're saying that, no, there's people fighting, Dre, and it's not, you know, what it seems. So I think just knowing that education is highly important, especially public education, to get across to students and people that cannot afford those other venues and other avenues of education for it. And I know that, you know, just champion Impact Aid and the things that we really do. And I'll say it, our military students and our military families need this money, especially our special needs military families that go through it. So it was a fruitful trip. We had some great, our representatives rock. I don't care what anybody says. You know, Washington State representatives rock. And I think that it's one of those things where they fight for us. They get the things that we need to get across. But we really showed up our, forced him to be the president. So you definitely did your job with making sure that we kept everything forward. But, you know, we represented as a whole. It's not just CK School District. It's other school districts that we're together wanting to fight to make sure public education is there. And then I'll say this last one, which was one of the joys. I finally got to a game, and I hit Eric Green and said, you should have told me that, you know, what the walkthroughs are. But I enjoyed the CK against Bremerton. It was a great game, I cannot lie. It was good. The whole first half was talking, you know, to people and families, which I enjoyed. But got to see the game in the rest, so it was good. And plan on definitely going to more. So it's got to get swag for each team, or just buy up, right? This has got to be equal, right? Equal. I don't have high school, so I'm stuck. Ollie's in my, you know, just because I'm close to it, I guess Ollie is. But I enjoyed it. It was really good. So.
My kids are here.
Give me the gear. I got you. Vice President Tracy.
Yeah, It's been a busy month, but just to touch on, I was thrilled to be able to be invited and participate a little bit in Familia Swap Meet and help in kind of like a little special or had it's kind of a special presentation to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I was grateful to have the opportunity to represent the school board and the district there. I am now a financial aid navigator. I took the workshop with Kitsap Strong, and so I don't know if there's any students listening, but October 1st, the FAFSA and WAFSA open, so to get those. So going with athletics, I was able to attend the girls soccer jamboree earlier this month, which I loved. It was just some short games, but I was able to see all three of our high school. I don't think I saw all of the JV and all of the varsity, but I know at least I saw a JV and a varsity of each from our high school, so that was fun. And then this last was just Saturday. I went to the girls swimming invitational at Ole, and so and I happened to sit next to Aziza Meyer's family and friends, and so they pointed out to me that she was going for some school records, and so I was able to watch her break the school record in the 100-meter freestyle, and it's a 20-year-old school record. So that was really exciting. But again, Lisa's a sophomore. She's a sophomore this year. So her brothers swam for Ole, and she's swimming at CK. But it was neat again to be able to see all three of our high schools compete, and excited that the Olympic Aquatic Center is open. And then just was able to help out at Cottonwood and Fairview for the first day of school. And yesterday, I have it set up to visit Fairview once a month and Woodlands once a month. And so I was able to go to 4 classes at Fairview yesterday, which was just great. And there were students who recognized me from Cottonwood and from Pinecrest, and so that's always joyful for me to have a student recognize me and be like, "Are you so and so's mom?" And yes. So yeah, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Money.
So for the first time in a long time, I don't think it's double-digit years, but on the first day of school, I was able to get to Klahia, Cougar Valley, and Green Mountain, which was a lot of fun. It was good to be taken around. I got there just in time for Scott Lincoln at Green Mountain to need to be in the cafeteria for lunch and everything else. So Cindy Fletcher, who's pretty much new to Green Mountain because she's been at Klahia for as long as I've known her, which is almost 20 years. Cindy and I walked around, and it was a good tour, and we were both learning about, as we asked questions there. So I'm going to apologize up front. Athena, you can write down that I won't be able to make the 17th community forum, which I told you that I would, because that is senior night for Klahia volleyball, and I value all of my appendages, and so I'm not going to miss that, but having said that, I've watched a lot of volleyball, and with a lot to go. My daughter is a senior, so this is the last year. We've been doing this since Chris was like in 7th or 8th grade, which was a long time ago. And mentioning Chris, it was kind of fun. This weekend, we were out of town. We went to Wichita, Kansas, where my son is now coaching college football as opposed to playing college football. It's really kind of cool. But to make ends meet, he's working as a paraeducator at South Mays High School in that district, where I talked about the Performing Arts Center and the Aquatic Center. So it's really that was really cool. And if I don't say that, I think it was, I don't know what weekend it was, but the last weekend in August, right after our last board meeting, we went to Helena, where the Klahia former Sportsman Student of the Year, Sportsman Student of the Year is now basically the senior student intern for the athletic trainers. So we've gotten to see everybody since then. Our pocketbook is a little bit thinner and everything, but it's really good to see. These are quite honestly, you know, they're my kids and everything else, but they're CK products and they're doing really well. They were well prepared. One of them played for Mr. Jackson sitting out there. He was the defensive coordinator when Chris was there. So, yeah, it's really pretty cool. The best part about it was that Friends University, which is where he's coaching now, played University of St. Mary, which is where he played for 4 years. So he was coaching against guys that he played with for several years and everything else. And they didn't win much when he was there, but Friends won 38-20. So the head coach gave him a nice big hug, but the defensive coordinator really wasn't interested in being affectionate. So that was kind of fun to watch. Oh yeah, and he's got a girlfriend, which is like a first. So we're still recovering from that. Everything else, but anyway, so yeah, it's. I mean, I don't usually talk about all these kind of things, but looking forward to the rest of the volleyball season. Looking forward to getting out to the rest of the schools and doing that. This October's kind of crazy with travel and everything else, but when we get into November, towards Thanksgiving and just before Thanksgiving, I think I'll be able to get out there and do that. And getting closer to retirement, so that's the most important. That's all I have.
Thank you, Director. All right,
All right, well, so go ahead and boot up that great presentation because we're so happy to have our students with us once again. I can't imagine a more beautiful start to a school year. It's been a lot of challenge for the last couple of years. First day of school for most students was September 7th, and our kindergarten students joined us the following week. It has been great to be out in schools, seeing the excitement of our students and staff, especially now that things feel a lot more normal. The short slideshow, you are going to get a glimpse for yourself. So here we go. I just love it. Yep. So thank you to our fantastic communications department putting that together and being out and about, taking those great pictures. Last night, our CK Native Parent Committee had 25 families present that filled up our Cedar A&B right here. It filled up this room and represented 23 different tribes. Haley Mabey, our Native Education Coordinator, focused the night on celebrating our summer program, Voices on the Sound, that had over 80 students participate in cultural enrichment by going to the Suquamish Museum. This year, our Native Parent Group will meet monthly for our October 25th Strategic Planning Night and our November 16th Native American Heritage Night at CK Middle School to elevate our culture and our programming. And then I'd like to thank our school board and our cabinet administrators for a great study session earlier this month. We shared a presentation on student progress and spent time going through state testing data. We also talked about our academic strides as well as our hurdles. I've been hearing about some confusion among our families and community members regarding the board meetings, so I wanted to do some clarification. Study sessions are a chance for the board to dig deeper into various issues facing our district. That was one of the things we heard last spring, the need for more transparency about what's happening in our schools, as well as board members' desire to focus more on in-depth issues like student learning, budget priorities, and more. Members of the public are welcome and encouraged to attend study sessions. This new structure means that the board will continue to hold 2 meetings per month. The first will be study session at the Silverdale Center, and the second will be a board business meeting held here at the Teaching and Learning Center. Formal action will be taken at the board business meeting, just like tonight we've been doing, and time will continue to be set aside for public comments. But as always, our public is encouraged to reach out to the board with email or phone calls or however else. So, finally, I shared last month that we have launched our strategic planning process. This will be a big focus for us this year, and input from our students, staff, families, community is critical. So I know the board's gone through the process, cabinet, leadership. I know that our schools are busy with their staff going through the process. Students are having the opportunity as well. There are 3 ways to get involved. Families are encouraged to participate in meetings at their specific student schools this fall. Schools are sharing more information about that. In fact, 2 of our elementary schools are currently advertising a meeting for October 3rd at the Silverdale Center to talk specifically about strategic planning. So that meeting is intended for Clear Creek and Cougar Valley elementary families and parents. It's not meant to interact with the school board. So that is a school-specific meeting. For the community members, however, and families that can't attend a meeting at their child's specific school, we've scheduled 3 community forums, and those are Monday, October 17th, which Director Green referenced, from 6 to 8 at Olympic High School, Tuesday, October 25th, from 6 to 8 at Clahalia, and then we have an afternoon for those community members and families that can't make evenings, Wednesday, October 26th, from noon to 2 at our Silverdale Center. We also have an online survey that will be open through December 2nd, and you can learn more about all of this process and these dates and the online survey on our website. So go to the first page, ckschools.org, and you can click on strategic plan. We expect a new strategic plan to be adopted in the spring, and that plan will guide our district for years to come. So I really encourage everyone to be part of the process.
And just to, piggyback on that, to say that this is what the community wanted and asked. So please be involved, get involved, and make sure your voice is there. All right. Thank you, Superintendent Prince. We will now move to public comment. If you have signed up to speak tonight, thank you for joining us. The guidelines for making public comments are available on our website and on our comment cards. Please be mindful in guidelines, especially as they relate to maintaining a civil and respectful meeting environment. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. And I say it every minute, I need to put it in here writing. I do not like cutting people off. Please leave it at the 3 minutes. As a reminder, this is an opportunity for citizens to address the board with their comments and concerns, but it is not intended as a forum for public debate. We will listen, we will care and consideration, and any matters requiring follow-up will be addressed outside this meeting. We will begin with in-person comments, and Dr. Prince, do we have any in-person?
Yes, so I'm gonna start with Katie, is it Clarence or Clevens?
Clevens.
Clevens, come on up, Katie, and you'll come up to the microphone.
Finding it kind of funny that we brought up enrollment, because that's kind of why I'm here. I can tell you where 2 of your 100 went. Good evening, my name is Katie Clevens, and I've spoken once before on how disappointed we were with the district, listening nightly to the many stories my kids would tell me about school. So once the schools opened up volunteering, I jumped at the chance because I needed to see for myself what was going on. I started at Central Kitsap High School and was immediately overwhelmed. There were some days I didn't feel like I had thick enough skin to do it. Twice I ended up in my car in tears. The language, the bullying, disrespect of school property, cell phone usage, and dress code, or lack thereof, was shocking. Is there any sort of code of conduct or standard for these students? Because it seems that there is not.
I introduced myself to many of the teachers and staff, and shockingly, they unloaded their frustrations, which were the same as mine, which was previously mentioned to me. So my questions are, why are they telling me this, and shouldn't they come to you with these issues? Or maybe they have, and nothing is resolved. Please don't get me wrong. I met many wonderful, kind, respectful students and amazing teachers, and they deserve all of our support. I fear, and my fears are proving to be reality, that you are not adequately preparing these students for life after high school. My once thriving freshman came to the realization that trying his best and giving 100% felt obsolete when fellow classmates could literally watch YouTube every day during class, but still get the opportunity to pass because there were no expectations. I'm guessing this is the equity that we are so clearly in need of. When the opportunity arose to pull them out of Central Kitsap and place them in private school, we took it. I assumed my freshman would be the most hesitant, and I too was sad, thinking he would miss out on the typical high school experience. But he was more than willing to leave CK behind. And I sleep soundly knowing that not only is he not having to deal with the stress and distractions anymore, but he will be prepared and better educated for the future. And I think, Drayton, you really nailed it on the head when you said it is very expensive to live in this district. And as a military family, we worked very hard to be in this district and still work hard to stay in this district. And my frustration is that we only made it a year and we pulled them out. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next one is Brittany McConaughey.
Good evening. I don't have too much to say tonight. I just wrote a few notes down from our discussion, or from listening into the discussion earlier in the meeting. In your discussion of the Fairview permit and the delays in that, you mentioned that those delays are riding on the backs of our students and taxpayers, and that is no shock to those of us who are taxpayers. We, over the past few years, have found it incredibly hard as well to work with city government. We found it incredibly hard as well to get our needs met and our families' needs met and to be heard in the midst of all the other things that are going on. You definitely don't have to explain any price increases or work shortages to all of us. And it was mentioned that you would like your permits to be prioritized because student learning should be prioritized. We completely agree, but we haven't forgotten about the very long time that our schools were closed unnecessarily, when many schools across the country were open, and about the huge learning losses and discipline problems that we're seeing as a result of that. So I just wanted to say most of us are feeling those things in our homes to a very strong degree, so it's no shock that the district would be feeling those things as well as they try to work with city government or leaders and authority. And I guess it's just helping you all to understand the burden that a lot of our families have been through the last couple of years. And I do hope that student learning is truly prioritized going forward, but we certainly won't forget about that year where schools were closed. So thank you.
Thank you.
And our next person is Angela. Angela Armendariz.
Hello, my name is Angela Armendariz, and I would like to tell you what it's like to be a Latina student in Central Kitsap School District. In 6th grade, I experienced what it felt like to be one of the 3 Latino students of my culture in all my classes. My classmates would make fun of me for bringing lunch that was different from theirs. I got constant racist comments from my classmates when I told teachers or others about what had happened to me, I'd get told, "You're just being sensitive, take a joke, it's not even that serious." My comfort and safety was always put last after the comfort of white students. I got tired of trying to speak up when each time I was labeled as the sensitive Latina that just complains. I got ridiculed for trying to take pride in my culture to a point where I was too embarrassed to eat lunch in the cafeteria and went to the bathroom to have my lunch. To a point where I'd stopped proudly answering that I'm Mexican American when asked where I was from. I'd stopped trying to correct teachers when they profiled me or made rude stereotypes about my culture. In 7th grade, I experienced what it's like to be burned out after only my first year of middle school. After a year of facing microaggressions, being profiled, harassed, and hearing others ridicule my culture daily, I felt exhausted, unsafe, and frustrated every day I spent at school. I was tired of teachers being so surprised that my English was so good. I was tired of classmates asking me to say words in Spanish since they found me so amusing. It was as if I was just there for their entertainment. I felt so alone and was scared to defend myself in a predominantly white school where my voice was never taken into consideration, where I was constantly silenced and put aside. I didn't want to go to school. I wanted to stay home, safe, where I did not have to deal with any of these things. By 8th grade, I had no hope for any change to be made when I was the first student to graduate Kitsap Middle School in history of Kitsap Middle School with a bilingual certification from the state, and nobody even mentioned my name. My achievements were never recognized or acknowledged by teachers or anyone at the school. I am now a sophomore in high school and things are still the same. I get verbally attacked by other students and teachers for being Latina. I still get ridiculed when I proudly say that I'm Mexican American. I still get silenced and put aside. I have to study more and try twice as hard just for my efforts to go ignored. I'm exhausted from fighting to be treated as an equal, and I'm so frustrated knowing that I and any other Latino students can never truly be safe in this school district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next we have, is it Guatemala? I'm sorry, Gabriela Ituarte? Gabriela?
Good evening. My name is Gabriela Ituarte. I am a retired clinical psychologist with 25 years of experience. I have a Cornell University certificate in diversity and inclusion, and I have been helping for almost 5 years as an interpreter for families in CK school district. But first and foremost, I am a CK mom of 2 children. I'm not here to judge, just to share our journey here. We moved from California 5 years ago, and as soon as we entered the school system, it was like going back 20 years in civil rights. You just heard some of my daughter's experience. I also have a little boy, which he has his own. I have witnessed kids clustered or segregated by race in classrooms. Little kindergartens have a horrific experience all year long because they were separated from their mom and put in a world where they don't understand or comprehend the language. Their experience was very traumatic and frightening. In school. How would we feel if we were separated from our family and did not know when we would see them again? Kids don't have a time frame. How would we fare when asked to meet expectations in a language we did not understand? I have seen middle and high school students verbally attacked and targeted because of ethnicity and race. Students put in classes without knowing the basic English and no help at all in classrooms. This widens the learning gap even more for them, and it's rarely and properly addressed, and leading to a high percentage of them dropping school. I have also been told by teachers, they don't have the need to know the language to teach English. This is, in a sense, not wrong, but you do need to know the language of the student if you really want them to learn concepts and not just repeat. Repeating is not learning. I also must emphasize, I have known great teachers, passionate and loving, frustrated because they understood the school system is not equitable for these students and lacking inclusion. I see that school systems struggle and that school districts' best intention are always defeated by the lack of representation. In the last school board study session, I saw in despair when the equity topic was put aside from the recommendations to legislate because you had put enough effort into it. Unfortunately, no person belonging to a minority was asked, and this leads always to taking decisions without us. And even though you have been doing your great effort to address equity in CK School District, as long as you don't have a diverse point of view, you won't be able to see the real needs of your students and families in their proper dimension.
That's your time. Thank you very much.
Gabriela. efforts.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I am the mother of an 11th grader, 8th grader, and 1st grader, as well as a 2.5-year-old. I have a lot of years left in this district. My 11th grader brought home a list of movies from one of her classes, and I had to decide individually for each of those movies if it was okay for her to watch them during class. All had some sort of educational value to them, and I said that she could watch them, so I signed the paper and she had to turn it in. We have to opt our children into movies that they watch at school. We have to opt our children into field trips. We have to opt our children into several things throughout the year. Yet those controversial life skills surveys, our children are automatically opted into. Why do I have to opt my children out of something so controversial when I have to opt them into watching an educational movie? Not only are the surveys not educational, they're taking time away from our children's education day, and the schools are already failing our kids. So why would we spend more time doing life skills surveys when they should be learning in class? Not to mention that these life skills surveys are provided to us by Panorama Education that was co-founded by the Attorney General Merrick Garland, who already put labels on parents like me as a domestic terrorist. So why would I want my child taking a survey from a company whose co-founder has labeled me a domestic terrorist? How much money have we given to this company who has labeled parents in your district domestic terrorists? These are our tax dollars, and I don't want my taxes to go to such a controversial company. Children should have to be opted into these surveys. If their parents want them to take them, we shouldn't have to opt our parents, or we shouldn't have to opt our children out of things constantly. That's a part in education. I feel like I'm having to constantly opt my child out of non-educational things that I want no part in for my family. These have nothing to do with our values. You are not supporting the district as a whole by automatically opting students into these surveys. When I went to Green Mountain and Klahia as a child, it was not like it is now. Like I said in the beginning, I've got a lot of years left in this district, and I'll continue to fight for my family's right as a protected class.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Marwan Cameron.
Good evening, board. How are you this evening? This is my first time here, and what brings me here, I'm a community leader and a business owner. I have a daughter at Ridgetop Junior High, and several parents have come to me and expressed concern about what's been happening in the school district. The first week of school, one of my clients' sons was jumped at Ole. It's very concerning, being the first week of school. Listening to some of the things that I've heard today, I would ask you to maybe consider doing the public comment a little bit earlier. As I look out, I don't see a lot of children here. I don't see a lot of parents here. It's very hard to come in and wait until about 8:30 to make public comment and advocate. We know in marginalized communities, it can be very difficult to find time to come and have your voice heard. And when you have your voice heard, that it is not acknowledged. I will be coming to these now and bringing the voice of those that feel voiceless. You have a black president on your board, and we need something tangibly to happen by the time his tenure ends. And so we hope now that as more of us show up and speak out, that at the end of his tenure, this won't be just for show, but there will be something that we can actually point to that has been achieved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. James Bromley.
I'd like to read just a really short paragraph from an article that I got in my email today, entitled 7th Grade, the Worst Year Ever. Having survived the 6th grade gauntlet of adjusting to a new school and several teachers rather than just one, 7th graders awaken to find themselves in an even more disquieting new reality in which inexplicably their parents suddenly are intolerable. Their teachers are hard-hearted brutes, and the only ones who understand them are their BFFs, who may turn on them at any moment. Now, I'm not into texting, and I don't use social media very often, so I had to look that one up. BFFs, best friends forever. Okay. In fact, as any 12-year-old Hunger Games devotee will insist, pretty much everyone may be out to get them. Next month, my granddaughter will officially become a teenager. Now, if you look back over the years, think about what it was like in junior high for you as a teenager. As old as I am, I can still remember what that experience was like. It wasn't very pleasant for me, trying to figure out what clique to get into, trying to figure out who I am, what my purpose for being what is, and just trying to figure out what's going on. And there are so many challenges that are growing up today for kids. There are issues going on in the school district. We have transgender ideology, we have SEL, we have critical race theory or anything related to that. We're putting our kids in a position where they have to make decisions that they're not capable of making yet. And so as a family, we have decided to remove our granddaughter from public schools. This was not an easy decision to make because my own kids went to Central Kitsap schools, and there were no issues, no problems there for us. But public school is just not a good fit for us anymore. And my recommendation, if you're a parent who is really concerned about your kids, doing your best to raise them to become productive citizens in our country, my strong recommendation is for you to do likewise. Find a good private school that doesn't accept any government money whatsoever, or homeschool your children. Sometimes that's not going to fit for families, but those are the two alternatives I would suggest. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We'd like Kat Grinquist.
Hi, my name is Patty Granquist, and I'm so old I have a phone, but my notes are taped to it. So, I'm a longtime resident, I've been here since 1990, a parent and a grandparent. I retired and started driving my two grandsons and a neighborhood child to Barker Creek every day last year. And I wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, how grateful I am that we have the resource that is Barker Creek. Not only every day when those kids got there, was somebody there standing and waving them and saying hello. For their birthdays, they'd get cards at home, even when their birthdays were in the summer. And the cards would say something like, I hope your dog isn't biting you like he used to. I mean, things that they knew who my kids were. There was always help, always ESP help. My grandson is very phobic about geometry, and he finally passed 3 times. And it was because of an ESP person who was with him day after day, helping him get through that. Really an important step for him. He was so proud of himself. He's 6'3" and he's got long red hair, and he came running and he said, "Nani, I passed geometry." The graduation this year, there was a young man walking up with his son. He's 18 years old and he had a baby. There was another young man dressed up as Spider-Man. There were several girls there that I knew from my grandsons that were certainly questioning a lot of things in their life. And I was so happy that there was a resource like Barker Creek that accepted each one of those children for who they were. Never gave cause, never gave censure, accepted who they were, where they were, and went forward. My next door neighbor said he got more credits in a year and a half at Barker Creek than he had at the school that he had worked at originally, or had been to originally. I watched during COVID, my grandson, the screen was on, he missed the entire thing. I just can't say how hard COVID was and how much I appreciated that the school was closed, because we're a multi-generational house, and it was very important that my grandkids not be exposed to COVID and bring it home for us. Anyhow, to end this, I want to say that teachers who care and ensure kids learn are so darn important. In a world that is as polarized as the world is, sitting here tonight, you're seeing how polarized the world is. Let's give a little grace to those people who every day are putting it on the line for all of those kids and trying desperately to appreciate who they are, what they are, and why they are. I just want to say hallelujah, thank you, good on you. Thanks for being board members, and good for you for hiring people. There are so many school districts looking for that you have enough teachers is an amazing thing. Anyhow, my hat's off to you. I have two grandsons, one who's in junior college, and the other young man who is my neighbor, he's going to a tech school right now in IT. So Barker Creek managed to give him skills to move forward in life. Just saying, thank you.
Thank you.
Anne Marie Adams.
Good evening. You all know who I am, and you probably know what I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to bring this glass because this is transparent. This is transparency, and this is what we are expecting. And we appreciate the fact that you are offering opportunities for transparency, but yet every day we are still getting messages from parents about curriculum content, about things that are happening in the classrooms. And I really appreciate that this is being recorded. Thank you. We cannot get you to record the meetings. We have parents who record over the Zoom sessions so that parents can see this, because they are getting kids to and from places. Tonight, I believe you have 2 open houses going on at the high school, because parents were shocked that they would go on the same night as this, the only time this month that they can come in for public comment. So I would suggest that we work on some scheduling so that parents can attend. I offered that they Zoom in from those open houses. That would have been fun. So I do want to bring up social emotional learning, because I actually specialize in this, working with birth to 3 and their parents. And unfortunately, our social emotional learning is leaving the parent part out. There's a visual here, and the families are way up here, where the classroom and the school is before them. This means that the parents and the families and their caregivers are not the priority in helping our students in their social emotional learning. That's interesting. Second step, which I'm very familiar with because I used it over 20 years ago, is not what it was. The Partnership for Children does not publish that anymore. And now it is much different and has a much different focus. It is not about empathy. So tonight, I am asking the board, which is only 3 out of the 5, to sign a pledge, and it's a parent pledge. I pledge to honor the fundamental rights of parents, including but not limited to the right to direct the education, medical care, and moral upbringing of their own children. I pledge to advance policies that strengthen parental involvement in decision making. This is funny because every district in this county has policy 5252 and 3211. All of you, including across the state. Thank you, WASDA, for making sure everybody is carbon copied. You all are the legislative body. You are supposed to represent your community, not WASDA, not OSPI, but the voters and the families in this district. So I'm going to pass this out, and I hope that our elected officials up here will sign this so that your parents know that you really do want to have them be the focus. And I want to leave 2 for Rob and Megan since they couldn't be here tonight. And I would highly recommend that you sign it and make that promise to parents in our district. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next we have Jewel Shepherd Sampson.
is Jewel Shepard Sampson. I'm the director of Kitsap Black Student Union. And I first wanted to say thank you guys for all that you do and dealing with hard decisions and tough times in schools. And I'm reading because if not, I will go over that 3 minutes. We're a new nonprofit that offers a safe space for students of color to feel supported, build confidence and self-esteem, build cultural awareness. Like we've heard today, our students say they don't feel seen or heard. We are here to work through these issues together, and we can't continue to ignore them anymore. So I wanted to say, just like Marwan, you will see more of us. I think that we've really gotten away from the village mentality, parents, the school board, the community working together. And as more legislation comes in, sometimes this is what happens. But I think if we all can take the pledge to work together, I think that we could make a safer environment for our students. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Shelley?
Hello. I initially was going to talk about the meeting schedule and the change, but you addressed that, and I was going to recommend that you guys invite community to be more involved, and you addressed that, so I appreciate that. But I do have a concern about the meetings at the library. Those that are watching online, they cannot hear what you guys are saying. I was there for a community meeting a few weeks ago. Mr. Jackson was there as well, and they did not have the mics out, and people could not hear what was going on. So if you guys could please put the mics out during those meetings, that would be great. And then another thing that I'm hearing a lot about is the issue of the school events, sports, having to purchase tickets online. And then there's these service charges as well. So it becomes really expensive for families that have a lot of children to attend these athletic events where they may have siblings that are playing. So if you could find out why we can't go back to the original way of accepting cash at the gate, that would be really appreciated. And back to the impact fees and things that y'all were talking about for the budget stuff. Coming from a family of builders, I understand the frustration, hence the reason there are very little small builders left anymore, because of all the red tape and the bureaucracy and all of that. I totally understand and I get the frustration and so forth. But one of the things that y'all passed tonight had to do with the impact fees. So my question to you is, where do you think those impact fees that you guys are going to be getting more money from, where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from the homeowners, because the builders aren't going to have the money to pay for that. So the price of housing is going to go up considerably because of those things. So I just thought I would put that out there so y'all are aware that it will directly affect the community, the taxpayers, and so forth. So anyhow, thank you.
Are there any other blue cards? I want to make sure that I captured all of them. Okay.
All right.
So check out online. Do we have any online?
Yes, we have one person,
All right.
Nicole Carpenter.
All right. We will now accept comments online by phone. For those of you on Zoom, the name of the online comment form must match the login name. Please raise your hand and you will be prompted to the panelists. You need to click on the button allowing you to join. Then unmute your audio and start your video. Individuals who will be joining by phone will be, she just joined by Zoom or by phone?
We'll see.
Okay, I'll say it then. Individuals who are joining by phone will be identified by the number listed on the online comment form. When your name is called, you'll be prompted to enter number 6 on your phone. Athena?
Yes. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to put this up on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry.
Good evening. I'm here to propose that a letter of transparency and awareness be sent out to all parents who have kids attending a high school within this district. This letter will make sure that each family is aware that their child has access to sexually graphic and pornographic material via the school. The child can access this porn electronically or physically from a school library. And some teachers contain this type of content as in-class book options. This letter of awareness will give parents the opportunity to opt their kid out of having access. This letter I propose will be a sign of respect and sensitivity, that each individual family has the awareness and choice to opt out of what many deem to be not age appropriate, school appropriate, or behaviorally appropriate content. Many parents know the statistics of how pornography can and does affect the minds of children, and that this content goes against their personal ideologies, religious beliefs, and possible mental health issues for their child that their child might be dealing with currently. This letter will take into consideration that sexually graphic messaging can be triggering and detrimental to kids who already are suffering with sexual compulsion addictions, past sexual assaults and abuse by trusted adults, impulse control issues, and much more. Despite many parents raising concerns, the school board has stand extremely firm in holding on to this sexual content, confident that every single student as young as 13 years old is emotionally and mentally mature enough for pornographic content. As you heard tonight, several parents that spoke this evening have removed their own kids and grandkids from public schools due to the lack of boundaries. The lower enrollment rate is not a mystery, as was discussed this evening. The privilege of choosing a private school to keep kids away from is not an option for many people, and honestly, telling people to even go to a private school is not an inclusive attitude towards differentiating cultures, religions, and personal ideologies that do not coincide with the board's members. Parents should be made fully aware of what their child has access to, as well as the right to decide what is and isn't appropriate for their own child. Sexual education is a sensitive topic and should always, always be treated as so. Transparency is key here. I feel obligated to stand up and make sure that other parents don't go through what my family went through last year at Central Kitsap High School, where an adult male teacher encouraged my kid to read and write a report on why a pornographic book should not be allowed.
Thank you very much. That is your time. Thank you. All right. Board members, we have before October the 12th, 2020 study session meeting. Are there any questions or comments in regards to that?
Just student progress, do we know?
No, student progress on third grade and comprehensive sexual. How about that? Yeah, but. So deep diving in. Miscellaneous, is there any other items or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Shelley for, if you look in my notebook, I've heard a lot. First of all, I have a note about study session microphones. I got a lot of feedback that, not so much about the participation piece, but they couldn't hear, so we need to do that. And I've also heard a lot, especially over at Clahaia when I'm there, just about every time, whether it's parents or grandparents or even students, about the online ticket piece and it's about convenience, it's about extra fees and everything else. I'm just kind of curious. I was kind of curious about, well, it was rolled out without much advance notice. It's like a football game. You're at the first football game, and next week you won't be able to pay cash for your ticket. So I'm assuming that the decision was made sometime before September, and that that's a significant change. And I would agree, quite honestly, that you know, for years, we collected cash at the gates, we accounted for that money, and that we probably, should, I mean, just look at that. So, because I have heard from families that we, in fact, it's just a little bit of extra money when you have 3 or 4 kids that wanna come and you're reach in your pocket and you look at the amount of cash that you've got. I know that, you know, we give our daughter a prepaid card that she can use to do that kind of stuff, but a lot of her friends don't have that, and so it's just something that we should consider. It was I know it's a lot easier for us, and there's a lot of that makes it easy to account for that, but the other part of it is that if you're doing cash and you can't go at the last minute, you save your cash. If you bought your tickets online and you couldn't go at the last minute, I don't know that there's a refund policy, which is something to consider. I think that we need to look at. The last thing that I want to bring up, we've gotten a lot of emails recently, pretty long ones, about certain things. We heard tonight about some things. I just want to observe that we've got a lot of work to do, and that we need the best way to do it is, and I'm not going to specifically say what, but we still have a lot of work to do moving forward. I take a lot of heat, especially from people that are close to me, about when I say that we're on the clock. We're constantly on the clock. We rely on the community to pass levies to make sure that we can continue to do things for kids and everything else. But we're still hearing about things that need to be addressed. We hear it in emails, we hear people come up here and talk about it and everything else. I think it's time that we really start to have serious discussions about why we're hearing and seeing about microaggression, why we're, your emails are long, JD, sometimes I have to get a cup of coffee to read them, so.
Unfortunately, some
But-
people here tonight have backed up what I've been saying, man.
So,
I agree.
We need to start talking about what needs to be done, why this is happening, and what we can do to address it. And you know, and those will be, quite honestly, they will, from this table's perspective, will be very difficult discussions, because they're going to be, because the answers to a lot of these problems are going to be hard. And so, quite honestly, we get these emails and we get calls and people talk to us at football games. It's unavoidable, Drayton, I'm sorry, but it's gonna happen. That's why I stand down by the fence.
You don't go to the game to watch
Watch
it.
the game at all. And I wear shorts, so my legs are so nobody wants to see it. But that's on purpose. But anyway, back to I'm trying to be serious here, and we have a lot of work to do, okay? And there's a lot, and some people who are responsible for helping us address these issues aren't gonna like, I think, some of the discussion, but those discussions, I think, have got to happen. I think that we're gonna start to hear from more kids. My daughter tells me that she's, she's a source of information for me, because she tells me what she sees and hears in school. And it's rather disconcerting, and some of it makes me angry and some of it makes me very sad, because it doesn't need to be this way. We do have people that are very dedicated. We have students that want to learn, I mean, even kids that misbehave at school, they're at school because they like and they feel safe at school, okay? So we need to address that. Okay, other kids that go to school, I mean, they're just, now I'm getting into what I don't wanna talk about now. We need to have these discussions, okay? We need to make schools safe for everybody. Okay, we need to identify, okay, what's enough and what's too much, okay? And what's acceptable and what's not, okay? And those are discussions that have to happen at this board so that the superintendent and the cabinet and the principals and the teachers know what the expectation is. We do represent the community. We have a tremendous responsibility sitting up here because goodness knows we're paid well. Okay, but we do have that responsibility, and I think it's time that we assume that we accepted that, and that we make the time and take the effort to try to address these issues. They won't happen overnight. We can't snap our fingers and make them happen. Okay, but you're a sophomore, Gabriella, right? Angela, I'm sorry. Your mom's Gabriella. Okay, but you're a sophomore. Hopefully, by the time you're a senior, we can make it a lot better, not just a little better. Okay, and we can also make it a school district where people want to pull their kids out of private school and put them back into school.
Thank you.
Okay, but that comes, you know, basically it comes with accepting things the way they are and deciding that we're going to fix them. Okay, I don't have answers. Okay, but I know that I'm angry sometimes, and I know that I'm sad. I really am. And I hear from a lot of people, and I know that we all do. Okay, and I'm sorry, but it's high time that we address these issues and that we do our best to try to fix what we can and try to get help fixing what we can't do it ourselves. So that's all I have to say.
I thank you. And all I say is this: thank you for showing up. All of you. Contrary to what, and Director Green and I talk about this all the time, we are not a board or a district that does not like hearing the voice. We love it. All of us as parents and advocates, and every time that we leave a board meeting that we hear from our parents, from our students, it is something that we take seriously and we take back. And so we're just happy that you're advocates for your children, you're advocates for the things that you believe in, and the board accepts that. Whether agreements or not, it's a matter of you be able to voice and always understand that you have that with us, especially, even though there's three, we all agree on that. And we've all said that going into this year that we don't mind the voice, we don't mind having that there. So thank all of you for
That
showing
includes student voice.
Student voice,
I mean, that's
right.
You will hear as we move forward
Most
with the
importantly.
strategic plan. Student voice is
Exactly.
very important because you guys live it every day. Staff lives it, students live it every single day. And we need you here.
All right.
So thank you.
If there's items of follow-up, I definitely think that they have some that we will. And if there's no other items for the meeting requiring, being no other further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.